Good morning. Welcome to day 30 of Quantum Liberty. Hope this day's finding you well. Here's some water birdies. There you go. Today on the phone I have Suzanne and Martha. Good morning, girls. We have an interesting day. They were in an accident shortly after their 16th birthday. They found out they were adopted, and they wanted to do some tapping on the accident and also the death of their father in the accident. So I looked up Louise Hay and have them on the phone with me and with us, and so we'll do some tapping on those two things. I was actually thinking about doing something on death because it's so prevalent with the COVID-19, and I did read, and I can't remember the exact science literature, but I've read it in a few places, and so we know that the number of deaths is just it's high in the United States. I think it's over 190,000 deaths, and so I thought we would do some tapping. I read a little thing, so that made some sense to me this morning. So I thought we ought to follow through with doing this, and perhaps a little bit later I'll do a longer one again. Okay, so these are twins down in Southern California. Their mom's a physical therapist who I adore and enjoyed working with, and so let's start tapping on the karate chop point. The girls know the points, and so you guys just follow along with us. And and so I read a Rumi quote that showed up this morning, which I thought was very appropriate for our conversation on accidents and death. So I was thinking that what we would do is we would start off with this Rumi quote that popped up from a friend. And so in some ways I feel like there are no accidents, right? But so the Rumi quote was, "Like a shadow I am, and I am not." And that's by Rumi. And it also reminded me of another quote, keep on tapping, nice deep breath, that I read in an Eckhart Tolle book. And I love this one. He's out walking with a friend, and they saw this house that was falling down, gonna just collapse in any moment. And outside the building, a sign read, "Warning, all structure is unstable." And he laughed because he thought, well, that is true. When we hold on to any kind of structure, that creates instability and the inability to be flexible and flowing with life. So I think that's true in many ways, and it's also not true too, but in that it's a wonderful thing to hold on to a memory of someone that you love. And so that's not destabilizing. That's a beautiful thing, because a heart-to-heart connection is something that you never, ever lose. But so let's go into what Louise Hay says here on accidents. She says that the negative thought pattern or probable cause accidents is an inability to speak up for the self. Rebellion against authority, belief in violence. So if you wanted to look at this accident from their standpoint, maybe it was that you two were not able to speak up for yourself when you were small. You didn't know that you were adopted, and so it was a surprise. So you didn't have the ability to speak up for yourself then, but you do now. And so in holding on to that structure of unable to speak up for myself, that's destabilizing. Is that, hopefully that helps. But so that's just something I thought about. And then the way to and we'll incorporate this into the tapping to create different neural patterns in your brain, so that you don't feel like you have to rebel against authority, but you can trust it, and trust your own self, is to use, Louise Hay talks about this. She says, for accidents, I release the pattern in me that created this. I am at peace. I am worthwhile. Beautiful. So, and you girls are definitely worthwhile. All right, my girls. So then we also have, for death, and this would be important for, if it represents when you have holding on to that, it represents leaving the movie of life. And the one thing that she talks about, to create a new neural pattern. So that kind of reminds me of what Rumi said, like a shadow I am and I am not. So we have these shadows in us, and that's what we're doing the tapping on, is that when we tap on the karate chop point, the trigger of the shadow or negative emotional patterns of fight and flight, they get blocked somewhat. So you can still see the image in your mind, but you won't have such a strong emotional reaction because the flood of neurochemistry is not released from the amygdala to run from the tiger, but instead it stays in the brain, the prefrontal cortex, where you can actually just maybe enjoy the memory of this spectacular person. And it doesn't mean that you won't feel the sadness, but you won't have any, you won't have, I can't say any, but you won't have a severe a reaction of running from experiencing those emotions. So you can experience them healthily and cry, and that will release manganese in your, which gets built up in your body if you don't cry. So the Louise Hay says that on death, the pattern that in the brain helps is, I joyfully move on to new levels of experience. All is well. So let's tap on, even though, and repeat after me, even though I've experienced this death, and it deeply saddens me, and I want to run from life, I deeply and completely love and accept myself. Even though I feel like I want to leave the movie of life and not participate in all the fun, I deeply and completely love and accept myself. Even though this death makes me feel very sad, and I want to leave the movie of life and not partake in all the fun, I deeply and completely love and accept myself. This death and all of its sadness, this death and the sadness that overtakes me. I let the feelings rise, and I let them flow, and I trust the process, that it's going to hurt, and I trust the process, that I deserve this person in my life, this person, this wonderful being that I always have in my heart. I can ask everyone I love to send me something in nature if it is their time to pass on, that when I think of them, they will send me a butterfly or a yellow jacket bee or a flower, so that I will know that they're always with me in spirit. I joyfully move on to new levels of experience. All is well. I joyfully move on in the movie of life to new things, to new experiences, enriched by this beautiful being, this beautiful, wonderful being who I always have in my heart.